Alright, Areno and Cheese, welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/StoriesAboutKevin. Okay, so it's called, Hey, why don't we promote the special kid? I was messaged and told one story would not suffice this week. Evidently, a few of us had great Mondays, myself included. I thought my last story was going to be short though. I thought. The sage advice from my father echoes in my ear.
Thought he farted, but he really spooped his pants.
Thanks, Dad. This story is about Hawk. Hawk is hands down, to this day, the dumbest soldier I have ever had the pleasure of serving with. He should have been swallowed.
How far before we reach the fallopian tubes?
It's gonna be a while. We just passed the tonsils.
That there should have been Hawk's life story. But somehow this benevolent bastard clawed his way to adulthood. Hawk was in trouble all the time when he first arrived. The growing pains of being a freshly minted private in the United States Army. These growing pains never stopped though. The punishment did, to a degree. Not because Hawk adapted to the army life, but because eventually you start to feel bad for punishing someone who is truly that oblivious to their errors. His father was a hard-charging, full-bird colonel. Hawk was the complete opposite. By the grace of God and power of Grayskull, Hawk eventually climbed his way to the prestigious rank of specialist. We are a country at war, and the cracks for people to slip through had become a bit wider. Little did we know, those cracks would transform into canyons, and Hawk was about to slip through another. We were about 3 months into our Iraq deployment when the announcement came. I don't have the 5 W's about said announcement, but it came.
All soldiers eligible for the Sergeant Promotion Board will go.
There are always soldiers eligible for the board, but that does not mean you send them. My oldest is eligible by law to drive my car so long as there is a willing adult with a death wish riding shotgun. Simply, eligible does not mean it's a good freaking idea. We received the news, scratched our heads, and then did everything in our power to prepare this humanoid for the Sergeant Promotion Board. The guy that had no poop, which means it's true, left his grenade bandolier in the porta potty so many times the local national, Iraqi, who cleans them knows which outside door is closest to his room. We were in deep with Hawk. Fast forward 1 month. The day is upon us. Now, I should mention one thing. I was previously a radio telephone operator, or an RTO, but had been promoted to sergeant. As a result of my promotion, I was also moved to a fire team leader position. I just inherited Hawk. He was no longer a novelty I laughed at. He was now my soldier. I would be his sponsor for the board. Super! Non-army military folks. The Sergeant Promotion Board is basically a question and answer, or Q&A. Each of the company first sergeants are present, about 5 humanoids, and the president of the board is the command sergeant major. The sponsor typically walks into the board and describes why this soldier should be promoted, and the command sergeant major typically reviews his counseling packet, good, bad events, or monthly reports. Now, I had been to a sergeant promotion board, but I have never sponsored anyone. The rest of my teammates were out on an overnight mission, but I needed guidance. I went to my first sergeant. He will be sitting on the board, and I figure he would provide me sound advice. My first sergeant is an ex-Delta operator doing his diamond time before heading back. His advice was simple. Be honest. Easy enough. The board. I am not even going in for promotion, but I am nervous. The other board candidates are going in and back out at a steady pace. It is now game time. The personnel finance clerk opened the door to the tent and instructed me to go in.
Good to see you again, Sergeant OP. How you doing?
Doing well, Sergeant. Yourself?
Can't complain. Now, tell me why Hawk should get promoted.
Promoted? Command Sergeant Major now has a puzzled look on his face. He shouldn't get promoted. Now he's just plain angry.
Then why in the flippity doodah is he at my board?
I was told all eligible specialists had to be boarded. His eyes tell me that Command Sergeant Major remembers the all part.
Tell me about Hawk.
Well, I've only been his team leader for, the stoic prick says.
Briefly, tell me about Hawk.
Picture a room with no windows and only one door. Now an angry screaming brick.
Stop! This better be good! This better lead somewhere, Sergeant OP!
Let him finish, Sergeant Major. This could be good, I think.
Picture a room with no windows and only one door. I could put Hawk in that room with one cat and one dog. I would give him very explicit instructions. Hawk, I will be back in 5 minutes. Make sure the dog doesn't eat the cat. Sergeant Major, you could go back in that room 30 seconds later, and there would be no cat, no dog, a dead frickin' elephant, and Hawk won't have a clue about how the frick it happened. That is Hawk, Sergeant Major. I was not prepared for the earth-shattering scream.
Send Hawk in and get the fornication under consent of the king out of my board!
Typically, the sponsor stays in the board during the entire ordeal. I would not experience that luxury. I was John Wick and excommunicado. I returned to my room and just sat on my bed, just replaying the entire event and wondering if I would be in trouble. I know how my sponsor acted in the board, and I know he didn't get kicked out. The minutes continued to pass and Hawk was not back yet. Maybe the board was going well. Then First Sergeant walked in.
OP nickname. That was the funniest crap I have ever heard in my life. We were all laughing hysterically.
Really? I didn't get that impression.
Have to be professional, OP nickname. After you left, Command Sergeant Major had tears in his eyes. How did Hawk tell you it went?
What?
I am now a bit irritated with Hawk. I thought he was still in there, at least until I seen you. I told him to report to me immediately after the board. I don't know where the hell he is. How'd he do?
Hawk walked in, saluted, and did well with the drill and ceremony, marching. Then came the questions. I was the first to ask the questions. He had the answers to my questions. Hawk, what is the maximum effective range, point target, of your assigned M203 grenade launcher with a high explosive dual purpose?
HEDP?
Nothing. He was just staring at me. I repeat the question. You know what that lover said?
It's his weapon system, but I can only imagine.
Okay. Oh, God. Oh. He said... I'm sorry, First Sergeant. I was not paying attention. No, I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question? I was not paying attention.
I have no words. There are thoughts in my head, but my brain refuses to communicate with my mouth hole.
He was kicked out immediately afterwards. He was only in the board for a couple of minutes. Suppose you should go find him.
First Sergeant leaves, and I continue to sit on my bed. I ponder where I should begin to look. The base was extremely small, but we're talking about Hawk here. That happy-go-lucky... What? That happy-go-lucky, intellectually disabled individual could very well be the greatest hide-and-seek champion of the world. That sounds like something he'd do unintentionally. I start with the barracks. No luck. It has been lunchtime throughout this entire ordeal. I check the chow hall. He was not there either. The only two places I could think to check next were the internet cafe and the phone center. Again, no luck. I then went building by building until I was approached by the recon medic.
Hey, OP nickname. You in Blank Company?
Yeah?
You have a guy in the aid station.
For what?
He got bit by a dog.
I go to the aid station. Hawk is just finishing up. The physician assistant is telling him, just make sure you're careful with the stitches and keep the wound clean. What the fire truck? Hawk, meet me in the team room when you're finished. I return to the team room and wait patiently for Hawk. Then I continue to wait. He comes strolling into the team room with a to-go plate from the chow hall. He didn't come straight back. This asshat went to the chow hall first. Meanwhile, my stomach is growling, and now the short bus window licker is sitting beside me. How did the board go?
I think it went well.
Just freaking babbled. Really? I thought you got kicked out. With a goofy freaking smirk.
Oh, yeah?
I just sit there, head in hand, staring at the ground.
So when do I get promoted, Sergeant?
You got kicked out of the board. That is a pretty surefire way to not get promoted.
Should we ask Sergeant Major?
No! Freaking no! Don't ask anyone! Just sit there and feed your face. Also, why the hell were you in the aid station?
I got bit by a dog.
How?
After I left the board.
I cannot describe the level of anger and frustration, but Hawk is dumb. I just want answers. Hawk, I understand you got bit by a dog. How did this transpire? Please describe in great detail how this happened.
After the board, I went to the chow hall for lunch. I took my scraps to the front gate where the dogs hang out, and I was trying to feed them. Then one bit me. I think I was just really hungry.
Utter shock. Just plain freaking shock. This is your second lunch? You're eating lunch number 2? Are you serious, Hawk? Freaking serious?
I was hungry after I got bit, Sergeant. Sergeant?
Yes, Hawk.
Am I going to the board next month?
If you ever met this kid, just remember what Mark Twain said. Never argue with an idiot. They will drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. Hawk is that idiot. Cheers. That was a good one. Okay, I really like this story. You know what? Screw it. Plus Ultra. I'ma say it. Plus Ultra right here. God damn, this is a good story. I don't really have much to say other than that. There is yet another Hawk story that this user, his name, what was it? User Sloppy Ice Cream. Yeah, he has another Hawk story. However, that Hawk story is very long, and it would make for a very long video. So if this video let's throw a crazy number out there. If this video can get 15 likes, I know, a little bit of wishful thinking there. If this can get 15 likes, then I'll read it. But then if we reach 15 likes and I don't think it's enough, then the next highest thing, 1,000 there. 15 or 1,000, depends on the mood. Alright, now let's bring it on back to Stories About Kevin, with Kevin Screwed Himself Over. This particular Kevin is more of an irate booty hole who tends to run off at the mouth. He's also one I'm stuck working with. You see, Kevin is one of those people who just complains and moans about just about everything. For context, he's a forklift driver and complains about having to do it, despite the fact that he asked to do it. Kevin thinks everyone is also an idiot, despite the fact that everything he says is straight up ignorant and stupid. He also can't count to save his life either, and gets irate when someone tells him his counts are way off. Anyway, I've been working my current job for the last 3 months. I had naturally started as a temp and was getting along with pretty much everyone and was making a good impression on everyone around me. About my 3rd day was when I had my first run-in with Kevin. A fellow coworker had moved a box of plastic to the end of the aisle and went to find a spot to put it away in. Kevin came barreling down the aisle on his forklift and ran into it. He starts cursing and asking who the frick put it there, all the while continually bashing into it with his forklift, over and over. I happened to be right there at that moment and was willing to move it out of the way if he'd stop bashing it with his forklift. My other coworker had come back and yanked it out of the way before Kevin completely destroyed it. Kevin looks at me and screams at me.
And you just freaking stand there?
Like it's my fault it's there to begin with, and I should have risked getting hurt trying to move it while he's hitting it with a big-ass forklift. I just rolled my eyes and said, whatever you say, dude. After that, I made it a point to just avoid him altogether. I have little patience for stupidity or buttholes. Much less a stupid butthole. I'm so sorry, I'm immature. Unfortunately, such a person tends to insert themselves into any given situation they see fit. So if it came to pass that last week, the company I worked for decided to promote me to full-time and asked me to come in an hour early for orientation. I did so and arrived about 10 minutes early. Kevin was at the door, standing on the steps. I walked past and opened the door to go inside. Kevin, in his usual disgruntled manner, asked what the frick I was doing. Mind you, our company does temperature checks at the door due to the Modelo pandemic, just inside the door. I turned around and explained calmly that I was told to be in at that time and I would hail somebody from inside for my temperature check before proceeding to my orientation. Kevin proceeded to go off on a tangent, saying,
I don't freaking care who you are or why the hell you're here. You ain't out here like the freaking rest of us. Goddamn.
I'd finally had it, but kept it as mild as I could.
All right, calm the hell down. Jesus Christ.
And back down the stairs. Someone came to the door shortly after and took Kevin's temp and then mine. I made it in on time and kept what happened to myself. Kevin, however, couldn't keep his mouth shut. He was in the break room and was running off at the mouth about the incident and happened to do so in front of the HR lady doing my orientation. Kevin apparently told her I was trying to cut him in line. Mind you, he was just standing like he was chilling and trying to bypass getting my temperature check. So she questioned me about it because when she asked who it was, Kevin said,
some freaking temp.
So she put two and two together. I explained what had happened and what was said, as she wanted verbatim what Kevin said in my response. I simply told her that given this wasn't the first time, my response wasn't exactly cordial either. I was just trying to get in on time and make sure that I got someone's attention so I could get to my orientation on time as I was told. She was pretty understanding of my response and none too happy about Kevin's, stating it poorly represented a hospitable work environment, especially on my first day as a full-timer. I even told her that I wasn't going to make a big deal about it. She said no need. Kevin did that himself. This isn't the first time Kevin has started something like this with somebody, and specifically temps. But since temps are usually disregarded on basic principle in regards to complaints against full-timers, they kinda just get pushed to the side. However, I was now a full-time employee and it brought validity to all those former complaints. Individually, both HR and my supervisor pulled Kevin into their offices and ripped him a new one. Kevin has been giving me dirty looks for the last week, like I snitched him out despite the fact that he couldn't keep his mouth shut. At some point, Kevin walked by me and whispered, "Snitch?" I just turned around and said, "Kevin, I didn't say crap about what happened until they came up and asked me about it because you ran your mouth off about it. You can blame me all you want, but it's your mouth that got you into that mess 100%. So maybe now it might be the best time to shut it," and turned and walked away. Kevin wisely keeps his mouth shut around me now, but he's not exactly learning that lesson with everyone else, because a bunch of people are making complaints about him being that way to them. I don't see Kevin staying there much longer. So the lesson to be learned here, don't be that idiot running off at the mouth and quit while you're ahead. And don't be an idiotic booty hole. Yeah, if you're gonna be a butthole, just be ironic about it. Or claim to be ironic about it, like I do. Like, I insult people all day and night, and they think it's a joke. It is. See, that was what I'm talking about. It is a joke. Like, you know I like you if I'm constantly insulting you over stupid things. Like, wow, you're so bad at tying your shoes. Look at that knot. You're so dumb. Go back to the frickin' womb, you fetus brain. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.